Okay, so Simon, you're up next. Just grab the sticks. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. It's good to have you all at staff sessions. Who's excited? Woohoo! Okay, we got the one and only Gareth Gale with us today. And from what you saw, this guy is literally the best drummer in South Africa. And he's at your staff sessions. Okay? So he's here with you today. We're going to be finding out a bit about his story. I see my slides are up there. Gareth, welcome to you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Can you guys all hear Gareth?
I'm all coming through. Good. Sweet.
Awesome. Okay, so Gareth, we've seen a little bit about what you can do. Just hoping my clicker is working here. But Gareth, not only involved in drumming, one of the best drummers in South Africa, but got your own drumming school. He's got his own website. He's written his own book. As you can see, there's a YouTube channel. One of his YouTube channels got close on 100,000 views on one of the beats that he does. So if you want to go check that out too, you can go check it. Very, very incredible stuff. Some of the guys that Gareth has played with, amazing local guys, Nibs van der Spey, Farrell Perkis, Rolly Strackemeyer. So we're talking to one of the premium session drummers in South Africa too. That's starting out a beginner's guide to playing drums. Gareth, tell us a little bit about that.
Just a book explaining various beginners' concepts. We wanted to design a book that helps beginners get the right start to drumming in the way that we feel is best. Yeah, so that's why we wrote the book.
Brilliant. And your own drumming school. We see Crawford underneath it. You actually operate a drumming school from Crawford?
Yeah, I essentially teach all the Crawford students, both in the prep and the college. And then when I'm not doing Crawford students, I take private students.
And I think those are your sponsors' name there. So Pearl and Istanbul, those are pretty serious.
So Istanbul cymbals, Pearl drums. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, so Gareth, obviously we see you here today now, but tell us, where did it all start? How did you get into drumming? When did the passion start? Was it at school, or when did you kind of get into the vibe?
It's always been in the family. It's been something that my mom studied harp and piano and those types of things, and I started doing the whole, little guys playing recorder. And
thank goodness you recorder solo wouldn't have been that cool, eh?
And we moved forward from that onto piano. Did piano up till about grade 5. Then I was in my standard 5 at school. And came home one day, my brother was playing drums up in our bedroom. He had placed a whole bunch of books on the bed. And he was busy jamming to John Lennon's Imagine. And I remember it clearly, and I came up and, little brother sees his big brother doing something. All he wants to do is that. And that was it. Started taking lessons and just went from there.
Great. I have to say too that you definitely did overtake Trav in your drumming ability. And this, you kind of got into a bit of rock and roll drumming, I think, then, eh? Is that you with hair?
That's me with hair.
Okay.
The good old days. So that was towards the end of matric. Coming out of matric, rock music was my favorite style. I listened to a lot of different rock bands and formed a band with some good friends of mine, and that was what we were doing. That band at the time was a band called Overtone. Yeah.
Great. And there with hair and a beard, eh? So you're really... It looks like you're really smashing those drums a lot harder than what we're seeing you do now. Was that really kind of the rock and roll vibe back then?
Yeah, that was sending it. That was me at the height of that.
So after school, into a band, did you study anything after school? Or was it full-time band?
It was predominantly full-time band. I tried to go to UKZN and do a degree in sociology. My mom was a music librarian there, so that was one of the first things that we got into. It was like, all right, let's try sociology, and that was psychology and a few things like that. Did really badly, actually did dismally. I think I passed one of the subjects, which was the only music-based subject. And that was a sign, I think. And then my mom sat me down and said, listen, I think you maybe need to try study some music.
And is that what you did? Did you go full-time music?
Yeah. I did a Bachelor of Arts degree in music.
And while you were there, if you want to tell, this guy looks like a bit of a hipster who's trying to play drums. Who's he and why have you got him in the presentation?
I have been doing, as I said, a lot of rock music, which is playing a certain type of way. When you're playing rock music, you're driving it. It's powerful. It's an incredible style. It's still one of my favorite styles today. And I was sitting in a Platinum Schlange just down here, and I had bought one of those. You get those cheesy jazz compilations from like Musica. Like the 39 Rand, sounds for your soul jazz type of thing. And it was a live version of Take 5, which is Dave Brubeck. And this guy here is Joe Morello, and he's the drummer. And I heard this solo, and I was just like floored by it. He played with such style, he played with such texture, he had control. He did things that I'd never heard before. I'd been doing, as I said, the rock things. I was playing really powerfully, and he was all just soft, and he was intertwining with the melody, and it was just like, and I listened to it, and I heard it, and I was like, wow, what is he doing? And I have to learn how to do that. And that right there, that little moment was the major catalyst for going to university and doing a degree in music.
Great. So is there any chance you could give us just a quick little rock and roll beat and
Yeah,
a bit
of
of
course.
what you transpired with this guy? Yeah.
Absolutely. So I was doing this at the time. I mean, it was everything from, and just let me know if it picks up in the mics, this type of thing. So it was loud and it was, had a lot of power. Joe Morello, he comes along and he's doing this type of thing. Suddenly it's all jazzy and it's about touch and texture and taste. And he did a drum solo at the end of the song, which was just amazing. And it really was one of those significant moments where I was like, wow, I gotta change what I'm doing to be able to play.
Kind of like a whole new world of opportunities as far as drumming goes, beats goes, using the different.
I didn't even know that type of stuff existed, really, and the skills required to do it. And suddenly, as I started exploring, and I was like, whoa, I mean, look, how's incredible is all this world of drumming that I never knew existed.
Yeah, and then we kind of see on the next slide that you playing with a whole bunch of guys that don't actually look like rock and roll drummers or jazz drummers. Who are those guys?
One of the biggest changes for me is that if you look at pre-university, I was playing in my suburbia, really. So I was doing a lot of rock music and I was playing with a lot of my friends. Not a wide variety of cultural influences in my playing, nor was there in my friendship circle. And that was one of the biggest things about university is I went into the music department and it was just completely multicultural. And so I started hanging out with different musicians, started playing, and this was a result of an idea that I wanted to start playing hip-hop. It was a style that I discovered. I never really listened much to hip-hop, and I discovered the roots by chance. There was a CD lying around that my wife had gotten from her work, and I was like, okay, fell in love with it, started studying the drummer, and then said, you know what, I got to play that. And put together a big idea, and we started playing live hip-hop all over Durban.
Awesome. So from rock to jazz to hip-hop.
Yeah.
Tell us what's happening here.
No.
So sociology kind of did dismally,
Didn't happen,
and don't play it down, but did you do a right in music? Was it?
I did. It was a fantastic course. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The types of things that we got to study were just so interesting, like music, culture, and history. So you got to study like music from all over Africa, from all over the world. You got to study different symphonies. I had to do Beethoven's Eroica Symphony. And it was just amazing, jazz workshop theory, and it's incredible because the stuff that I did then, I'm still utilizing now, and it actually becomes more and more relevant as I go on. Even the non-drumming stuff is becoming increasingly more relevant. So.
Okay, so are we looking at like top of your class, middle of your class? Top of your class, okay, he's a very humble guy. So now from South Africa, excelled in studying music, and you decided to explore the world. And I mean, up there I see France, New York. I know you played in the Living Room in New York, which is a famous music venue. I know you've played in House of Blues. You've played in London. You've played in the Cornwall Festival. I mean, this is pretty big stuff. How did you go from being a student of music to now playing in venues all around the world?
Well, we went across to the UK just to start expanding and getting a few new experiences. And prior to that, I was already playing with guys like Nibs van der Spey and Farrell Perkis. And what kind of happened simultaneously, which was awesome, is that they started launching their CDs into areas like France and the UK. So the year that I was there coincided with the time that their record company here basically made contacts with record companies there, and they came to tour. And so, whilst I was there, we started playing with Farrell. We went across to LA, New York, and New Jersey, and we basically launched a CD into America. And with Nibs, he does exceptionally well in France and in Europe. And we went across to France, and that picture there is possibly my favorite international experience. That was doing a live broadcast for France Inter, which is, say, their national radio station. So it's like you go and you play 6 songs live, and there were a variety of some of France's best musicians. So we were just stressing out, and we were backstage. I will never forget, it was one of those backstage rooms that had the mirrors with the lights, and we both just, I think I had the worst headache ever after that performance. Because they tell you before, well, it's a listenership of close to 1 million people, and you've got to play 6 songs live, and you're just stressing out. But yeah, that was just some of the experiences, and they were fantastic.
And guys like Nibs van der Spey and Farrell Perkis, I mean, although very well-known musicians, not necessarily the kind of guys who get a lot of radio play, but quite interesting, quite unique, very, very passionate about their craft. What drew you to musicians like that versus, I mean, you could have been playing with some of the, the pop guys and really sort of launching yourself as a band member, but what drew you to those guys?
The more I explore the instrument, and the more doors open in terms of you discover a player that you might like, and then that leads to you discovering further players that you like. So I met Nibs and we started playing, and the drummer prior to me with Nibs was Bray van Zyl, who's Johnny Clegg's drummer. And he had done the album that basically I stepped into, and I had to study Barry's parts. And so spent a long time what they call woodshedding that, and then that opened me up to this whole Afro-Cuban, African type of thing. And playing with that, then I met Guy Buttrey, and then I've been playing with Farrell, and Farrell was influenced by like the Jack Johnson, that like reggae folk cross. And so we just started doing that, and the more I was then playing, and the more I would take on the challenges and try to really jump into them and say, all right, I'm going to do, if Nibs gives me that opportunity, I'm going to take it with both hands and make sure it's as excellent as I can make it. And that would just continue, and then I just started to discover more and more stuff that I loved.
Fantastic. And coming back to this picture now, this was quite a turning point in your life, Gareth? I know through chatting you were speaking about being over in the UK, having this amazing experience in playing all over the world and with amazing musos and teaching at the time. But you came across this picture in a tube station there, and it really kind of changed the course of where you were going to take yourself. Maybe just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was a defining moment for me. I'm sure you've all probably been to London or have spent time working there. And I wasn't even actually involved in music. I had gone over and I was having these experiences, but my primary job as such was as a teaching assistant in an autism integration school, which was fantastic. But the music industry there is tough. It's, you think you're going to go there and just kind of walk into things. And there was a lot of predetermined things. They did things certain ways, and it was a case of you would work it and fit in with the ways that things were happening, everything from promoters and how they would run venues, how you would generate income. And I was teaching a lesson one night in central London, and I was just, I never thought that I was going to put down roots in London. It was never that way, really. But I walked past the sign, and South Africa had just won the whole World Cup bid. And so they had started the advertising campaign in London. And it was this sign, but it was that South Africa alive with possibility. And I remember walking past, you have one of those defining moments which just hits you like a ton of bricks. And yeah, it was just, I realized then that I needed to come home, that this is where I'm meant to be, that this place excites me. I think that South Africa and Durban are just so great because nothing here is predetermined. If you've got ideas and passions, you can basically do what you want. You're your own limitation, and that excites me to no end. Yeah.
Great. So really feeling excited about this newfound energy, this love for exploring possibilities and what you could really grow for yourself outside of this quite predetermined set structure.
Yeah.
But now tell us a little bit about, you have this idea, you have this passion, you come back to South Africa. What came next? I mean, it's one thing to have the ideas and the passion, but how did you start growing yourself and actually exercising on the dream?
Well, we had a strategy in terms of teaching and performance. Those are the two main areas. I do recordings and I do a wide variety of things, but those are areas that we thought, all right, we'd start with that and focus on that. But obviously, as you know, it's one thing to have the idea, but you need the practical side to it. And so essentially saying to myself, all right, I'm going to put my eggs in the drumming basket, I needed to make sure that the practical side, the technical side, was down. And so that then became about looking at it, assessing what makes a good drummer, and make sure that I'm doing those things. And so there's two major areas that I'm focusing on, and I consistently focus on them all the time. Even to this morning I was doing that, and just now I was doing that, and that's your hands, your technique, and your coordination. I call those your two major building blocks at drumming. So I'm consistently just sitting down and going over things like this. This is called a paradiddle. Now, I'm sure you've all at some point seen a pianist or a guitarist or someone doing scales. You know, the da-da-da-da-da-da-da, that whole type of thing. This is our version of it. All right, now there's 40 of them, and this is one of 40. And it helps you to develop your technique, which is essentially the way your hands and fingers work together to hit the drums. That's what we're doing. And you'll see at the bottom, the crux of it is the combination of those hands there. Right, left, right, right, left, right, left. Could I play it for you, Gwen? Cool. So it sounds like this. All right, tell me what you think. Right, left, right, right, left, right, left. So pretty straightforward, right?
Pretty straightforward. And now, do you still do this today? I mean, after what we saw earlier, you do that?
Well, not essentially like that, but let's just see. I mean, I always loved doing this, and I wondered if you guys would like to try it with me. It's always an interesting exercise to just join me with. Is that all right if we...
Yeah, you guys happy with that? Want to give it a
Would you like to try it with me? Just to have an opportunity to experience a bit of drumming. All right, so let's do it together. Right, left, right, right. I'll lead you through it. We'll do it nice and slow.
So they're just tapping on their legs here, okay?
Just tap on your leg. Anything you want to tap on, go for it. All right, everyone ready? Okay. Right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, right. Should we try it a bit quicker?
Yeah.
Cool. Right, left, right, right, left, right, left. Let's speed it up. Right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right. You know, you guys did great. Yeah, so it's addressing those things. That's one of the major things that I continue to do. I'm always addressing the technical elements. But it's one of the things, though, is like, that's all well and good, but no one's really going to come and watch me do that, right?
Yeah, I must say, if you had got up and started with that, I don't think too many people would have stuck around.
Yeah, it would have been a little, I mean, admit, you're not going to pay money or experience anything doing that. So what we do, just to demonstrate how this eventually goes through its process, we start with that, we begin to speed it up, and then we take it around the drums, so we start to be creative with it. And we get a few things that start like this. Same thing, it's just what it eventually becomes.
So that was a paradiddle.
Yeah, that's the paradiddle, just that exact same thing. And just speed it up and move it around the drums, and admit the difference is quite significant. The second is coordination, and this is essentially how we organize our hands and feet. So we use coordination because when we're dealing with different styles and when we're dealing with a wide variety of drumming, we've got 4 limbs, and this is a very Western concept, using everything together, but it's what we have to train ourselves to do. So, you guys like to try it? All right, so we're just doing, these are 4 notes, and we're going to play them with the hand or foot, which is written. All right, so right hand and left foot. Again, you can just do it wherever you are. Okay, do you want me to demonstrate once? Just 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Feel free to join me when you, and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, let's try the next one. All right, left hand and right foot. All right, everyone ready? 3 and 4, here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Last one. Both feet together. You can do it. All right, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And so we spend time doing that with everyone. Those are all from starting out. So when someone starts drums, that's what they do. And without those two combined, styles, which builds the basis of when I'm working with Nibs and Farrell, just wouldn't be possible.
Great, and off the back of that, I know when we were chatting, you were saying that when you came back to South Africa, looking at the whole, even your history from the rock drumming, it came to this place of not only did you have the dream and the passion, but there needed to be this focus on excellence for you.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
that part of this every day, waking up, doing left, right, left, left, and practicing your coordination of your hands and feet, that all goes into really focusing on the excellence so that the dream can be realized.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's of paramount importance. If the excellence was not there, everything that would be built just wouldn't be the same. Would fail to exist as much. Yeah.
So now there's this passion, there's the practice. Why don't you show us a little bit of what's the result? I know that you've got this really funky thing called independent limbs. So show us a bit of when passion and excellence meet.
Let's have a look at this slide with the styles, and that's the one. So this essentially what we were doing now. The coordination takes us on to this. And in university, getting from my second or third year, we discovered stuff called Latin. I don't know, who likes Latin music? Is anyone into Latin music? Great. Awesome. And Latin music's fantastic. And I said, like, the drum kit's very Western concept. If you went to, like, Cuba and these types of places, yeah, you would see drum kits now. But back in the day, what was happening is that all these different parts were played by individual people. And so when the Western concept of putting it all together happened, we had to learn how to play all these things simultaneously. So you had people doing things like rumba claves, that type of thing. And then another guy would be going, he would be playing this part, another, and then another. Bit spit up. That type of idea. So all of the styles, from jazz to Latin to everything, involves you having these, as you would say, independent limbs, but it's important to realize the steps before it that we were doing. Those little steps done with, as you said, excellence produces these types of things. So yeah, these are some of my favorite styles, and what I would love to do is ask if there are any requests. I really enjoy doing this. It's a nice challenge, and is there anyone who would like to hear a beat from a particular style of music? It's drum and bass. All right, so just because I love teaching, do you know how it all originated? Okay, so there's a beat called the Amen Break. If you ever go into drum and bass, you'll check it out, which was played by the Winstons. Sounded something like this. They did that type of idea. Then obviously programmers took it and sped it up, started changing the sounds, and you get something which sounds. Anything else? We could do reggae. Song. All right, let's try Red Red Wine. Why not? I won't sing it though. 1, 2, 3. Anything else?
What about a funk vibe? Give us a
Funk
little.
vibe. All right, cool. I love funk playing, and it's a huge part of hip hop. And all right, so I did a funk beat called the King Kong beat, which is pretty interesting, and it's done quite well on YouTube, which I'm excited about. So that sounds something along these lines. 1, 2, 3.
Any other requests?
Any others? I could try.
Happy birthday. Why?
As long as you
Ah, Peter!
All right,
Okay.
I'll drum it if you guys sing it. You ready? One.
Stand up. And you need to dance.
All right, so we'll do it like this, I guess. All right. 1, 2, 3. Let's try.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Peter. Happy birthday to you. But do you moisturize though? Because you don't look a day over 21.
Cool.
All right, so really kind of exploring, developing, focusing on this excellence. But we as sort of private property, and I've spoken with some of you guys before about this whole definition of true humility. And what I love a lot about your story is you've almost modeled that. Starting off trying to find out, the first step of true humility is knowing who you really are. And Gareth, sort of in the beginning of his career, was really finding out what he actually wanted to be as a drummer. What was his style? What was his flavor? What did he want to do with his drumming? And then after finding out a bit about what that was, really coming back to South Africa, and after understanding that, trying to be that to the best of your ability. So focusing a lot on developing the dream, but also developing your skill and putting hours and hours into excellence. But then the next step really is to try and be that for the benefit of others. And being such a great and talented drummer, you could really be focusing on trying to be the best drummer in South Africa or the best drummer in the world. And I know that's not really your heart. You really are passionate about drumming for the benefit of others. And I guess the question I want to ask you is why? Why you've dedicated so much time to this? Why are you choosing the paths of teaching and writing and more playing with guys that you really believe in? What do you see the impact in being for those students and also for a band?
Well, I'll take it in two halves. Firstly, the why I do this. First, it's built around a huge passion. I love it. One of those things, like you talk about a first love. Piano wasn't the first love. When I saw drumming, it was one of those things that struck me instantly. And it's been a journey. And I always think something is what you're meant to do. With the more time you spend with it, the more you love it, and it just continues to grow. And so it really engages so much of me in terms of why I drum in the first place. It engages me intellectually, engages me on an emotional level, engages me on all sorts of levels. When it comes to why with other people and why with teaching, and when it comes to teaching, I just love developing people. I think you're almost like mining. It's like you're a gold miner. Someone walks into your room and you're mining out that gold, that potential in them. And that's fantastic, and I love being a part of that process. And I've seen some incredible changes in people when they come in and we get them drumming, and then they just start taking off. And when you're in that position, and so you just like, you have someone, there's a pianist in Durban called Burton Naidu, and if you ever get to see Burton Naidu, you've got to see him play. It's like I played with him last week, and when that guy solos, you don't have to do anything. You just actually get out of his way. You're just like, there you go, and you support him, and you just watch him go, and you watch the audience go with him, and the music goes to heights that you never dreamed possible. And I love that approach. Instead of it's about me, what can I do? The one problem with skills sometimes is that it can take your focus from supporting people to showing people what you can do. And I think if you get into that headspace, it's not a healthy place to be in. No.
Great. And I know that you and I have also spoken a little bit about these private property values that they've really been developing over the last little while. And there was something that really drew you towards these three words, and specifically in the middle where it's be moved, where you've all been to a gig or you've heard a good song, and a lot of the time your foot starts tapping like that. It's not because of the guy's vocals or the guy's soloing on guitar. It's because there's a really good beat in place. And for you, Gareth, not necessarily thinking about what these words mean for private property, but those three words and the whole idea of being moved for you as a drummer and your craft, how do you identify with them?
Well, again, in the two, say, primary worlds that I deal with, when it comes to teaching, I mean, those three words are massive. You serve your students by doing, by being focused on them, not on yourself. Not, okay, what is the student going to do for me as a teacher? What can I do for this student? You're there to serve them. You're there to inspire them. that's a massive part to motivate them, to keep them going. You know, when we talk about encouraging people, we're talking about giving them the courage to continue taking steps forward in what they're doing, inspiring them, and connecting them with the best drum education possible, whether it be resources, the right resource for the right student, and all of that combined, I mean, exactly as it says, be moved, and a student moves towards what it is they want to do, or their potential. And it's the same if you look with performance. I mean, you're serving the band, you're playing with Guy and Nibs, you don't want to like sit there and say, all right, let me show you what I can do. It's just missing the point. You're sitting with world-class musicians. You just want to be like, let's pick them up, let's support them when they solo, let's color what they're doing. You serve them, and in that way you make them have a better performance, and that just creates this co-beneficial relationship. You're inspiring them, and you're inspiring the audience when you play, and you're connecting by bringing everything together. If I'm with a band, I play with a band called Zephyr, and we do a lot of different corporate functions, and you've got a guitarist and a bassist, and the drummer connects the two. His bass drummer is playing what the bassist is playing, and he's connecting with the guitarist, and again, all three combined, you're moving forward, you're moving something towards a better place. So they're absolutely massive.
Awesome. Well, there's no Guy, there's no Nibs, and there's no bassist or guitarist. There's just you up here right now. Could you maybe just end with giving us one last little show off? Don't be scared. Show us what you're made of. Give us your best beat. And
your best beat?
Get us moving, bro.
So you don't want like a... all right, some nice beats. Let's just, we'll just improvise on a few, take it to a few places and go from there.
Yeah, Gareth, you've always been an inspiration to me. Thank you for living out your dream, and thank you for being so passionate about your drumming. If you guys want to follow him, he's on Twitter at Gareth Gale. He's on garethgale.com. That's his drumming site. If you want to learn to play drums, I went to a few lessons with him. It's a lot of fun. Okay, he operates out of Crawford College, so you can get in touch with him. But Gareth, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Let's give him a massive round of applause. Yeah, and just a very big thank you to you guys for letting us be part of your staff sessions. We're really excited as Apple Tree, the direction that you guys are taking, your staff meetings, and also taking yourselves as a community that is private property. Also, these three values, guys, you can see, they're not just random words, but they are things that everyone can connect with in some way. And it was just so cool to be able to have Gareth just show a bit about how those three words also play out in what he does. So, yeah, we're really excited. Thanks for letting us be here, and we'll hopefully see more of you guys soon.
Thanks so much.
Over to you, Simon.
Gareth, thank you very much for being here. It's been excellent to sit and listen to those beats. I could have used more cowbell at times. I'm not going to spend much longer. I think that was a fantastic kind of summary on where we're going as a business. I think Gareth and what he does embodies this idea of be moved for us, but in a whole different space. And I think that was exciting today, just to explore it from a different perspective. Justin is going to join us, and then Christian. Justin's got some very exciting news from a shareholder and investor standpoint. And then Christian is going to take us through what we're doing in the virtual tour network. And it really is an element of excellence that we're trying to bring in that space that really is setting us apart from anyone else in the market. So a couple of short presentations just to give you a little bit of insight in what's going on, and then we'll wrap it up with some drinks and some eats. Thank you guys for spending time with us. Justin.
Okay guys, are your glasses all like charged and handful of snacks? Cool. So guys, I just want to tell you a little story today. There's some very exciting news. I'm sure a lot of you have picked up little bits and pieces over the last couple of months, in fact almost half of the year. But you might notice that Nick and myself have been a little bit out of action. So first of all, before I tell you, I'd just like to run you through a little story, because actually it's a pretty cool, inspirational story. You know, we sit here in this small town of Durban, as it's become overall in this big world that we live in. And a couple of years ago, in fact, 13, 14 years ago now, we came up with this idea that the way that real estate was being done couldn't happen anymore, and that there was a huge opportunity with this new thing called the internet to disrupt it. So we headed off on this crazy journey of A, learning about this new thing called the internet, and B, thinking that we can disrupt the property industry as it was done in South Africa at the time. This, incidentally, was our second website. For those of you who don't know, I can see Dylan in the back there querying. I think it ran off an Access database, by the way. So in the process of this, we started to dream about building a billion-dollar business. Might sound crazy, but we realized that we would have to find other ways of monetizing. And we branched off into all sorts of different joint ventures with media companies, for example, and across different verticals, leisure particularly, and home improvements. We decided that the only way that we could make money out of real estate was to charge a success-based fee. So we developed a brand similar to private property called Agent Direct, and we set out to build a full tracking system that was able to track the entire property transfer process from the point when the estate agent was phoned with a lead to transfer of the property. And we actually built this thing, guys, and some of you have worked on OmniTrack. That's actually was the basis of this circle of care thing that we set out to build all those years ago. I think what I'm trying to say is that if you have direction and a belief that the way that things happen are going to change, then ultimately you'll find the destination, as long as you have the direction, the determination, the passion to make it happen. So we're in a great place now with real estate, but it didn't come without a lot of disappointments and a lot of mistakes along the way, and I'm sure there will be mistakes in the future. But what I'd like to tell you is the story that started back in 2005. When real estate, we started to get back on track after including the estate agents in our offering, and we started a holdings company. And we got in some investment from these Americans that you all know about that have been part of our business now for 6 or so years. And Justinus was running real estate, and we seemed to be doing quite well in the early stages of our experience with the estate agents. And at a directors meeting, I put a proposal to them that we venture out and look at other businesses outside of South Africa. South Africa is a small country, really, in the global scheme of things. And you're never going to create a billion-dollar business in Durban. So we went out and we started looking at different things. And if you have a look at this industry that we're in, internet classifieds, these are some of the companies that are operating around the world. And if you'll look at the size of the capital value of these businesses, it's a number on the right-hand side. Immobilian Scout, Simon was there last week, invited to come and show them what we've achieved with this website. They're a $1.3 billion company. Seloger, French property portal, $1 billion company when it was sold. Home Away, travel, $2 billion. Car sales, $1.3 billion in Australia. Realestate.com.au, Australia, $1.3 billion. Rightmove, over $2 billion. India's real estate site, just under $1 billion. Seek, the travel site from Australia, the job site from Australia, over $3 billion US, guys. These are massive businesses. And the exciting thing is that in classifieds, once we've gone through the hard work of building a really good website, and once we've got the market to use this website, and once we've got into a very strong position with our customers, the dollar that we add over and above our operating costs is profit, because we're running a website. And that's why these companies are so valuable. So that in mind, we ventured off and made these acquisitions. Incidentally, you might have heard of this company. In fact, it's Private Property Holdings' new name. We are in the process of renaming the company because this business now incorporates so much more than just the real estate that we started off with many of you guys all those years back when we had this original vision. In fact, I can say today that we are Africa's biggest classifieds marketplace, and I'm going to tell you some things that are probably going to blow your mind. Because while you've all been looking and busy working, groveling away, working at building a new website, this is what we have managed to put together. First of all, we decided that Africa was a black area that absolutely no one was paying attention to, but that broadband was arriving with the undersea cables in around about 2010 in a huge way, and there was huge opportunity. Africa is overall an incredible opportunity. It's like over 1 billion people. It is 6 of the top 10 fastest growing countries in the world are in sub-Saharan Africa. There are more middle class households than in India, to give you an idea. And we know how powerful India is as an economy. So we are sitting on this gold mine, and when we got into it 2 to 3 years ago, there was really nobody messing around there at all. We were very, very early. So what did we do? We convinced Tiger Global to allow us to make some investments. And this was the first one that we did. Does anybody know about this one? Who doesn't know about Fourie now? Or know that we're involved with it? Dirk. Okay, you only Dirk. So this is a really fantastic business, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to get them to expand their operations. Remember that it's an e-commerce business effectively, and they can add establishments. They can add 100,000 establishments with very little need to scale. So when we got involved, they were a quarter the size that they are now, and they were only in South Africa. They have over 18,000 establishments at the moment and growing very, very fast. You definitely know about this one. We really haven't done an enormous amount to help our partners in Nigeria, but we did make this, and this was one of our first investments. We monitored them for about 2 years in Nigeria before we actually put any money in, and they are now the biggest property portal in Nigeria. That doesn't mean a lot, I must tell you. But you'll notice our biggest competitors are OLX, and one of the smaller ones at the bottom is Property24 in partnership with the Institute. It's called neves.com.ng at the bottom. So great opportunity in a country of over 150 million people. That's 3 times the size of South Africa, and an economy that will in fact overtake South Africa because we are half asleep. But this is the premises that they operate from, just for interest's sake. So we've got them jammed in there. Obviously, they have the opportunity now of expanding. I'd love to show you a little bit more, but we're going to keep it nice and tight. I went to Kenya a few years ago, and I met up through an introduction with from Tiger with a guy called Kerry Eaton, who had started a cars website in Kenya. I'd been going about 4 months or so, and managed to convince him to join up with us. We have now taken a full stake in Cheki. We own 100% of it. Kerry is now very much part of the new private property One Africa Media company or group. And to give you an idea, although we only say that we operate in Kenya and Nigeria, we're both of those countries, we are the leading cars portal. These are the countries that we already have websites live in, and apart from South Africa, we have stock in most of these countries as well. So the plan is to put more people on the ground and do sales and marketing within these countries. So we already claim that we are the leading African cars property portal, which is a phenomenal achievement. To give you an idea, every car dealer in East Africa, well, almost every car dealer that is a subscriber to Cheki has a signboard which says Cheki. The URL that they use is the Cheki URL. So they think this is very cool. We bought the signboard, but in fact, now everyone thinks that Cheki controls the car industry in West Africa. Wherever you go at the moment, all the billboards are occupied by either Cheki or Brighter Monday or OLX. So we've got this fantastic campaign, and you just can't miss it. So this amazing saturation of everyone's minds with the Cheki brand, especially in Nigeria and Kenya. Jobs, incidentally, this fellow that we joined up with, Kerry Eaton, was, at the time that I met him, the CIO of Seek, the $3 billion company. And so it made sense that we got quickly into the job space. We had been looking at this Jobberman company in Nigeria. They already were the number one, unfunded. And we have now made two, and a third one coming up, investment in them. They are the leading jobs portal in not only Nigeria now, but also Ghana. So you'll see the tab on the top that switches you over to the Ghana portal. We bought this company as well. This was the most recent one, Brighter Monday, which is the West African jobs portal. And we've just taken a 100% stake in it. And it is, of course, the biggest jobs portal, just in case you thought that it wasn't. So that is us in the boardroom a couple of days ago. What is this all about, guys? And this is the big news today. You can just imagine what it costs to run all these businesses. We've been doing it on a shoestring. It's enormously stressful. You're advertising one month, then you're not, because you don't know if the income's going to come in. Nick is slicing and dicing the cash to try and spread it around. For us to win across this continent in private property and in all these other businesses, we really need to make sure that we have all the ammo and all the right people, and we're able to commit to doing this thing. So we have just done a deal, and that pack of documents, incidentally, is one set of contracts with one of the leading classifieds internet businesses in the world, seek.com.au, Australian, I'm afraid to say. But they've taken a 25% stake in the company, and to give you guys an idea of scale, the investment that they've made is over $20 million, which means that Nick has now over 200 million rand in the bank to play with. Although I think he's spending it fast. So, to give you a few words about Seek, they're great partners. Because they're Aussie, they think a little bit like us. We do have a few challenges, making them understand that things happen in Africa slightly different to how they happen in Australia. But they already operate in these countries across the world. They have either the number one or number two jobs board in Australia, obviously. In China, they've made enormous investments in China, and I think they are number two across the country, but number one in a lot of the major cities. In Brazil, they are number one with a very interesting model. They are really, in Mexico, they're number one. So really, they have a lot of international experience. They know how to help these businesses grow, and we're really looking forward to working with them, not only in jobs, but they can help us even in our real estate category. To give you an idea, this is the first quarter. Their profit was $250 million per annum, taken in the first quarter, but obviously growing at 20%. If you extrapolate that to 2014, they're making about 10 million rand a day profit. It's pretty insane. So guys, that's the story. It's very exciting for us. As a group, this is what we look like. We still have Tiger Global, who have a big stake in us. We still have Seek. We now have Seek that have a 25% stake in us. The holding company is now One Africa Media, not Private Property Holdings. That slide, it looks a little bit grey. You'll notice this is the Safari Now wing down here with a Mauritius company in order to be able to do international transactions. You'll notice there's Private Property South Africa and Private Property Nigeria. And then under Mauritius Cheki, we have all the underlying sub-Saharan African countries. So that's the story. It's fantastic news, and I think we're going to have a little bit of champagne later. But I don't know if Nick wants to add anything. He's certainly been an incredible part of putting this whole deal together with Seek, and I can't tell you. Dawood, as you know, has been flying off to Kenya and Lagos and trying to sort stuff out. So certainly Nick and Darwood. I think we should give them a huge round of applause. It's been amazing. So that's it, guys. Any questions? I suppose, what is the implication for South Africa? It may give us the opportunity to relook at our budgets now, reset our budgets, look at where we can do things slightly differently, where we can hopefully convince Nick to give us a bit more money for marketing so that we can get a few more leads to flow and get more people to enjoy our website. Any other questions on it? That's it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you. Yeah, I don't think we should underestimate the work and effort involved. I mean, that was years in the making. Obviously, many introductions, many discussions, but just in the last 6 months, I think Justin and Nick have put in an unbelievable workload. I mean, we were talking about Australian company and an American company and a South African company trying to talk about Africa. So very confusing, very difficult from a timing point of view. I mean, Justin and Nick would have been up all hours of the night trying to do the deal. So I think give them a round of applause for a huge effort and a great success. Okay, Christian, you are running out of time, but show us how we're owning the virtual tour space and what we're doing there.
Thanks, Simon. It's going to be difficult to live up to Justin's presentation. I think everybody's inspired already. I might need a drum roll to... If you're not going to give me a drum roll, I'm gonna do this in Afrikaans. Okay. Yeah, I'll be just sharing with you a day in the life of a private property photographer. So I'll start with just a little video, if you can have a look at this.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it.
Hello, Hugo. Hello. This is number 19. Good morning to you. I'm Barbara from Private Property. Hi. You're welcome. Thank you so much.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it.
Yeah, well, what exactly are we moving? Are we moving our butt? Because that could be dangerous. I once tripped over a coconut doing that. I broke my butt. Yeah. It all sounds like fun.
What, eh? Sorry, man. I'm not a big sunshine. Sorry about this. This is my colleague, Christian.
Ek het vir ek maak 'n klein videoetjie.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to.
I'm Aniki. Welcome. I've come to list your house for you today. I hear you're selling it. So, thank you. This is a card from Private Property, and it will tell you all the other things that are available. It's just a call to the call center, and they can take you through it. So,
Okay.
and also if you want to change your price or have a show day, phone the call center. That's their number there, and they will assist you.
Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot of running around and driving around and logistics involved. And that's not where it ends. I mean, once a contractor is finished with a day like that, they've got to go back home and sort all the photos, put in the right files, draw up the floor plans for each property and upload it onto the FTP, and where Fourie in Centurion will download it and stitch the virtual tours and activate them on the website. So it's quite a process from the day that the appointment is made up to when the virtual tour goes live on the website. So yeah, just to give you more background, we've got a network of 12 photographers serving the whole country. We cover a total of about 30,000 kilometers per month. We visit about 1,000 different property addresses every month. We connect and serve estate agents, private property sales staff, private sellers, browsers on a daily basis. So if you probably ask, why do we do virtual tours for customers? I want to try and answer that question by just sharing this little video with you quickly.
The evolution of communication. Well, sort of. It began with shouting. The only problem was that the sound didn't travel that well. So we sent runners to deliver messages. But it took them too long to arrive, and they usually forgot the message. We moved on to carved stone messages. But it took them even longer to arrive, and they were too damn heavy. So we trained doves to carry letters, but you can't really train a dove. Then Bell invented the telephone. But he was the only one with a working line. So we moved on to technology. Pagers, BBS, chat rooms, emails, spam, SMS, MMS, IM. But there was still a gap in the communication. Until now. Introducing Rounds, a totally new way to connect live on Facebook. Video chat and interact face-to-face with your friends. Show them how much you like them with tons of cool gifts. Use webcam effects on yourself. Browse your favorite websites whilst you both control the action. Play action-packed one-on-one games against your friends. And all without ever having to leave your Facebook page. Rounds finally brings the fun into video chatting. Rounds, video chat as it should be. Try it now. Search for Video Chat Rounds on Facebook.
Okay, so you can see the way people communicated back then and now it drastically changed. And I think if we look at this video from a property context, every estate agent that's listing a property on our website, they've got a message that they want to translate to a potential buyer or browser on our platform. And the better we can help them to make that message more clear and add some reality to it, and so the browser who's on the receiving end of that message can make a much better decision, and with the result that the agent will get much better leads, quality leads. So by adding virtual tours to our properties can really help our agents getting much better results and a better experience for the browsers. So the communication is much better. Can you go to the... Okay, so, and just, these are some facts just to prove it. This is a customer who's on a virtual tour package with us. They're using it to its full potential. They've got about 154 properties. The blue bar indicates 154 properties with virtual tours. And then the green bar, 178 properties without virtual tours. Now, if you compare the leads, the red bar shows you properties with virtual tours on average. They receive 26 leads on average for a property with a virtual tour. And a property without a virtual tour, 10 leads on average. And if we can get all our customers to use the virtual tours to its full potential, then this is the kind of results we can offer them. And to me, this is where we start to inspire people. If they spend money with us and we can show them this is the results they're going to get. And I mean, this even can inspire a salesperson, a private property salesperson. I mean, if they sit in front of a customer, they don't have to only rely on their sales skills to sign a contract. They can show facts and say, this is what you can experience if you're willing to sign a contract with us. And Jono, who built the report. If we can say, Jono, hey, this is how much it helped us, you also bring on, when can I build the next one? Okay, so for the future, we're busy looking at a software which we can use to publish our virtual tours. We're currently using TourWeaver, and we're looking at replacing that. If we do that, we'll be able to publish our virtual tours, and they'll be able to view them in different browsers. You'll be able to view them on most of the tablets out there in the market and smartphones. So we're looking at exploring that and implementing that as soon as possible. And then we also started playing around with some aerial photography. That's what the little device looks like. We've done a few estates already, which we outsourced to people who's got the skill. We've also bought a simulator and a radio for one of our own private property contractors to start training and play around with it. So and he's pretty much ready. So we're going to start doing our own aerial photography as well soon on estates, and maybe at a later stage offer packages to estate agents, and it will be one of our premium products which we can sell to estate agents. So you can have a look at a few of the images which we have taken. Yeah, it's Justin's new house. Okay, so that just gives another perspective to a browser also when he wants to buy a property. So great. So the question an agent should ask is, if he's got a listing on private property, does it have a virtual tour on? And in future, does it have aerial photography photos on it? Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Christian. Yeah, I think 30,000 Ks, I mean, I didn't even know that. That's 3/4 of the way around the earth. So we do that every single month in an effort to put great content onto our site. And I think that is a fantastic evidence of some of the things that we talk about. You know, it's easy sometimes to talk about inspire, connect, and serve as just some business terms, some values that the business stands for. But the reality is we are living this out in departments like the Virtual Tour Network every single day. And I think that's a particularly exciting thing. So thank you, Christian. Thank you to the team that's putting that together. Look forward to those aerial photographs coming onto the site. We're going to put some great estate galleries on there. We're up to almost 30 estates photographed already. So very soon we'll start seeing those things come onto the site, and it'll just enrich the experience even more. Unique content is not only about unique listings, but it's stuff like this. It's far richer ways to look at listings on the site. So fantastic. Guys, one last thing before we wrap up. We've obviously had a very exciting month with the launch of the new website, all the teething problems that's brought with it, as well as the launch of an incredibly successful new iPad app. And I think that was probably the greatest surprise for us, not because we didn't expect it to do well, but because we hadn't put a massive amount of focus on it in any of these sessions, or it caught us by surprise. It was a very exciting launch. Within a week of launch, it was the #1 app in South Africa. So I think that is a huge achievement for the team, but most notably for Marco. And I'd like to just give him a round of applause. He's also the company's big mover for the month. So if you could just give Marco a great round. And we're looking forward to a number of additional releases in the iPad app as well as on the main website. So I think June has been a little bit of a difficult period, obviously with a lot of things changing, a lot of things moving. We're going to probably have another month like that in July, so hang tough, but we are definitely moving in the right direction. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the eats, the snacks, and Gareth, thanks again, man. Cool.